Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and today we're taking a look at Magicka Wizard Wars. Now this is a free-to-play title that was released by Paradox North, I believe, and it's been out for some time. In fact, it was an alpha for a long time, and I'm playing it since then, but a lot has changed since then. So, well, it's a free-to-play game, so I'm going to talk a bit about the monetization model, and if you're not interested in that, then you can just skip ahead to the actual gameplay, which will be about 10 minutes from now. Alright, so obviously every free-to-play title has a form of currency. This has crowns, which is the in-game currency, but there's no paid currency. That's because everything is in actual money, in this case euros, because of course the studio is in Europe, so everything is in euros. So, is it a fair system? Well, for one thing, everything can be bought for crowns, and they're basically cosmetic versions of stuff that you can already unlock in the game. In fact, none of this stuff is necessary at all. It's more or less if you just want a different looking robe, different looking staff, different looking weapon. They aren't better or worse than stuff that you can unlock by just playing the game. In addition, there are boosters. These are XP boosters, and as you level up you will unlock things called mastery tokens, which I'll talk about in a minute. And these just basically double the XP that you get. It's fairly straightforward. I don't really have a problem with boosters, to be honest. The price of it is a little bit steep. I mean, $1.49 for a single day is quite a lot. But then again, about 10 euros for a full month of double XP isn't actually that bad. There's also treasure chests. These are your daily loot rewards, which contain anything from crowns to very rare robes even. So all sorts of stuff there. These will give you additional unlocks per day. You do get one chest for free every 24 hours, so you can just wait for that. Or you can buy them for actual currency. It's up to you. Okay, so what else can we get for money? There are starter packs. These include what you can see right there. It does give you a preview of everything, and it shows you the stats of it as well. And by highlighting a different one, you can see in the bottom left there, red means it's going down, green means it's going up, so it can tell you the difference overall just by a quick comparison what it's going to include. Now, from what I can tell, the Scholar Pack and the Starter Pack, the Warlock Starter Pack rather, seem to contain the same items, except the Warlock of course has more. But the price difference between them, I mean, 10 euros versus 24 euros is quite a lot, but then you do get 3 different sets to use, and I believe they all perform in different ways. So you have that. That's one of the sets, and of course there's the Veteran Mastery Pack as well, and these also include crown boosters, XP boosters and whatnot. So all very good stuff there, and of course there is also a Tutorial Starter Pack which you can get for 10,000 crowns. Now there is no way at the moment to directly, I would say, convert these crowns into anything else. So if you want more of them, you have to either play the game or you have to purchase them using these crown packs. Now these, I don't really have a problem with them because you can't unlock everything by paying for them. So is it pay to win straight up? I would say no, because there isn't a single item that you can buy that you can't already unlock by just playing the game. At the same time, none of these items are straight upgrades of another thing, unless of course they're following the same line. But everything seems to have a downside. So let's take a look at that. Straight into it, the masteries. Now you get, I believe it's 25 tokens every time you level up, and that gives you all of these things to unlock. Now there's no way of zooming out as far as I can tell, so I'm going to have to just show you this as it is. You start off here in the middle, and the first thing you can unlock is this dagger, which is a nice little upgrade from the sword. It does less damage, but it attacks a little bit faster, and it can be thrown, something the sword can't be. And that gives you another little sort of strategic advantage, being able to attack at range like that. And then from there it splits off to death and I believe healing. So death and life, I guess. And then it branches out into other things like fire, electricity, earth over here, And there's the Knights line as well. And there's a Death line, Healers, Water, I believe, is this one? Or is that Speed? No, this is Speed. Water is over here, Ice is over here, and then there is Defense over here. So, a lot of different sort of specializations that you can follow, and you can mix them up as and when you choose. So, if I'm following the Fire line right here, which is what I actually have unlocked right here, it will allow me to do more damage with fire spells. So, that's quite nice to have. However, it also reduces my effectiveness with death runes. So this will make me more, I suppose, or less resistant, rather, to any death-based attacks. But I can deal more damage to fire. Or with fire, rather. And also gives me more fire resistance. So that's something to bear in mind. Everything seems to have a downside. Like this staff over here, you can see it takes away from fire but adds to your death power and so on and so forth. So everything has that sort of trade-off. So there isn't one single build at the moment that seems to be more powerful than the rest. It all depends on your sort of playstyle. And that's where we get on to the actual gameplay. There are a few different modes. Duel is sort of a messing around mode, really, if you just want to play against another player. That's not really too enjoyable. I think that's a kind of silly mode, really. I'm not sure what the point is. But there is Wizard Warfare and Soul Harvest. Now, Soul Harvest is the new one, and it's quite interesting. Wizard Warfare is just a 4v4 PvP match with some capture points. So it's a cross between deathmatch and conquest mode. It's quite interesting there. You get a set amount of tickets, and then you drain off each ticket every time you respawn. So, of course, killing the enemy and taking away their spawn points is the objective of the game. Soul Harvest is more of your typical MOBA mode. So we're going to take a look at both of these modes, and I'm going to talk about them as we get into it. Alright, here we are. So this is Wizard Warfare. This is the first mode of Magicka Wizard Wars, and this has actually been the mode since the alpha and beta version, so this is quite an old mode indeed. And here I am with a slightly different build. I still have my flaming sword there, but I'm using the Vizier's robe, and I believe it's the Death Elemental staff. Either way, this adds more damage to your death-based or beam-based attacks, while taking away from your fire. So getting set on fire will of course do more damage to me. So as you can see here, we're trying to capture spawn points and trying to move as a team. So it's still quite dependent on it being a team, but the thing about Magicka is that it's a sort of game that is quite, I would say, co-optional in a way, because you can work together as a team. However, you can also very quickly kill your own teammates. As you can see here, we've already taken a significant amount of damage, and most of it from, well, our own attacks, actually. So I'm here trying to chase down this guy. He seems to be running away, trying to put up wards as and when he can, and I've just been knocked down there. So, of course, teammate coming in to try and help me, and I've got nowhere to go. I think I might actually die here. Yeah. So there you go. You know, if you see the sort of gear that the other team is wearing, you can actually very quickly pick up on what they might be stronger or weaker against, and use that to your advantage. If there's one criticism I have about this game, is that the damage numbers are just a little bit too small, so they're a little bit harder to read. And just waiting to respawn here. This mode tends to go quite fast. If the team doesn't work together, the match can be over in under a minute. There are some matches where I've just seen that happen. In fact, I think during the recording of this, actually, it happened. We had a 40-second match at one point, which, of course, gets you very, very little reward. And it's frankly not even worth the time. So, teammate here trying to help me, and I get set on fire. I didn't even realize that. So just want to talk a little bit more about the combat system. So you have a primary weapon, and then you have your magical staff over there. But the spells themselves are cast in a very unique sort of way. You combine the runes together to create different spells. So for example, the red one that you can see there, combining all that together creates a red beam of death, which is not me making that up. That is actually what it is. It's a death rune and it's red in color, so it's a red beam of death. The primary weapon can be used by simply right-clicking without having any runes equipped, and for the most part they just do physical damage, which in this game appears to take on the element earth, which I guess if you really think about it kind of makes sense. In this case though, I have a flaming sword, so of course it does fire damage, so it's kind of a counterbalance to me not having much resistance to fire, is that I can actually make use of that too. And you can see just how much damage the beam does there too. Now what you just saw there is a meteor shower. That is actually one of the magics that you can use. And magics, as you can see there in the bottom, in the 4 squares, are special spells that you can equip before the match, and they are unlocked by simply having the bar below them fill up. So think of it as a sort of score streak or kill streak, if you will, because they do seem to work in a very similar way. As you gain kills or your team gains score, then you unlock more of these things to use, and it's quite normal to see people using more than one ultimate magics at once. I think the most enjoyable part of this game, though, is really just combining the different runes together to create different effects. For example, even combining fire and water together seems to create steam, which, aside from doing heat damage, can actually quite badly soak the enemy wizards, so they become more susceptible to electricity. As a side note, of course, if your robes happen to be wet, then using an electrical spell may actually zap you, causing you to backfire. There are some spells that you can cast as well that will backfire if not aimed correctly. So you can see here I'm trying to use the beam. Now sometimes the other team, and this isn't going to end well for me, I don't think. Going to try and run away here. So I put that shield up just in time to deflect that beam. So anybody using a beam will have the beam reflected directly back at them. However, if you're using like for example lightning, it seems to go straight through the shield. So there are some downsides. That's been the most interesting thing so far, is learning how to combine all the different spells together to create different effects. Some of the more experienced players can create some very, very cool looking spells. So there's quite a lot of depth to the combat just because of the way that the magic system works. And there's one of the magics that didn't manage to escape him in time. He summoned the Grim Reaper right on top of me, so that's quite unfortunate. So that's one particular type of game mode. And now we're going to jump out of this and head over to the Soul Harvest mode. Alright, here we are. So this is the lobby for the Soul Harvest screen, and I want to show you this because I have a different build and because there are emotes. That's really all I wanted to show you. In fact, the emotes themselves are tied to whichever robe you're wearing, so of course different robes have different effects. Now, this mode, as I said, is more like a traditional MOBA game, so think along the lines of Dota, League, and so forth, and you kind of get the idea. This, of course, is not a direct copy. It has a lot of differences, but it's kind of closer to that style. So in this mode, you have neutral creatures all over the maps, and they're of course neutral, so they will attack anybody on sight. And they drop these items called souls. So a standard mob will drop 1. And you can see my fire-based build here making short work of those creatures there. And that adds up to a total that you can see on the top of the screen. Now we are playing on the green side. It's basically friend or foe colors. There's no actual colors for the team, so we are always going to be on the green side. So on the right there you can see it's out of 300, and that's the total number of souls that you need to completely weaken the effigy. The effigy, of course, is a big statue in the team's base, and whichever one is destroyed first is the loser, essentially. So next to that you can also see a health bar at the top. That is the health of the effigy itself, and the 3 diamonds indicating how many sentries it has. The effigy itself is capable of defending itself against enemies. So those 3 sentries are how it does it. So of course a effigy without any sentries is going to be completely defenseless. So the more souls you get, the faster those defenses go down. And that's really how the game is played, but of course still with Magicka's own style of combining runes to make different spells and so forth. And of course friendly fire is always on, so this is the sort of game that kind of makes you want to kill your friends sometimes, completely by accident. And you'll see that quite a lot. This is a game with a lot more team killing in it than you'd see in a lot of other games, and frankly it's all kind of better for it. So you can see there, I just tried to cast the conflagration magic, which is a wall of fire, and I completely missed. So trying to escape there and casting a regen on myself. Now, this mode also features some special mobs as well. So there's a large troll that spawns fairly frequently, actually, on the map, and with a big announcement and everything, as you just saw. And that is a creature that's worth 20 souls, so of course it's quite a good idea for the team to go and try to take it down. However, he is quite strong. In fact, he can kill most wizards with a single hit. And there we go, getting exploded by a beam there. So for the most part, you can actually see that the beams are the longest ranged, and in some cases the highest damage, but the inability to attack more than one enemy at a time with it makes it kind of limited as well. And in this mode, you definitely want to be able to attack multiple units at once. So, now, I want to talk a little bit more about this mode. You'll notice that the map itself is also, for the most part, symmetrical. On one side you have the troll, and on the other side you have the warden. Both of these are very powerful creatures indeed. And on the northwest, or the top left of the map, and the bottom right or southeast of the map, there are special creatures that drop 3 souls each, so that's another thing to bear in mind. So there are more than just the standard goblins there. It's quite a team-focused mode as well. He says, as he lights his teammate on fire there. And of course, understanding the magic itself, it really helps when it comes to combining spells quickly. Because if you've noticed, I have to combine the different spells, the different runes rather, together to combine and make spells. And that's to sort of be done on the fly, so it's not very easy to do that. And then worrying about different things such as states, for example, you know, when your robe is wet or if you're on fire, and so forth. So, a lot of things to bear in mind. And I find myself getting very competitive in the game, but still quite enjoying it. There's something very strange about that. So you can see here putting the special magics to use as well. And just kind of waiting for the team to get back together before we go and take on taking the rest of the team there. And you can see just then I got hit by a sort of bluish kind of missile, and that is the projectile that the... Just picking up a kill here. That is the projectile that the sentries from the effigies fire off. So it's quite painful, actually. So normally you won't want to go and attack it immediately, simply because it's just impossible to take on alone at the beginning. You can see that our team has killed the trolls, so we're going to be gaining a huge amount of souls very, very quickly. I'm just here trying to spawn lock the other team, and I get myself frozen here, so you kind of have to just smash your way out of the ice. I'm not sure why the guy didn't finish me off there, but there we go. So overall, is it any good? Well, it's a free-to-play game with Magicka's own combat system, which is still, I think, one of the most interesting combat systems in any sort of top-down RPG for the longest time. And at the same time, it's starting to move into this kind of MOBA world, which is not my particular favorite genre, but then again, it has its place now, and I don't think it's going to go away. But at least, you know, you can find MOBAs that we kind of can enjoy. And this is one that I do actually like. It has a sort of casual feeling to it, simply because of all the ways that you can fail completely by taking on your team, or, like I'm just doing right here, killing myself with a meteor shower. It's something that you don't feel that you're taking very seriously, yet it ends up being very competitive all the same. I'm not sure whether this will have a competitive scene, I really have no idea, but if it were to have one, it'd be quite an enjoyable thing to watch, simply because of how dynamic each match is. Now, of course, people who play Dota and League of Legends will say the same thing, you know, every match is different, and that's true. MOBAs do tend to play very differently, depending on who's playing, the sort of play style, the builds they use, and so forth. And for the most part, Wizard Wars seems to simplify the actual builds while diversifying it in the actual combat itself. So you don't have different classes, you don't have different heroes, but you do still have stats, and you do still have the rune combinations that will work for you. So you can just run around with the default items and not spend any money on the game, and be just as good at it as anyone else. Or you can spec yourself out for the type of magics that you prefer to use and run it that way. It's really up to you. So I think as a free-to-play game especially, this is doing quite well. And it has a good sense of humour. Magic has always had a pretty decent sense of humour, but this game is also full of references from everything such as Legend of Zelda to even newer games like that, or even a Game of Thrones. It's very sort of steeped in popular culture. So it uses its humour where it can, and doesn't wear itself out too often. And I kind of like that. But then again, Magicka's sense of humour does appeal to me. It might not to you, who knows? But at least looking at it right now, it's still a very fun game, and its business model is pretty fair. I will say some of the items seem a little bit expensive, but I guess there are more expensive things out there. It still seems fairly alright for the sort of hours that you can get out of this, especially with this new Soul Harvest mode that's really kind of adding to it, because I did start to feel that Wizard Warfare matches were starting to get a little bit too short, especially if you get very good at it. And the matchmaking system doesn't appear to match by skill, so there is a problem when matching with new players, because the matches just end way too quickly. So that was a problem, but now with Soul Harvest it sort of evens the playing field out. If you're not very good at fighting other wizards, you can still go and fight the goblins. So it is a pretty fair game mode, it's for the most part. So it's starting to shape up to be a very, very good game. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it's free, so go and check it out. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to leave the rest of this match up just to show you how it plays out. But if you have any questions about the game, please feel free to leave it down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Panda, and I'll see you next time.
Enemy sentry destroyed. We've lost the sentry. Enemy effigy is being dismantled by professionals. We've destroyed a sentry. The enemy effigy is under attack. We have lost one of our sentries. The enemy defenses are down. Go get them! The enemy effigy is being dismantled by professionals. Our effigy is under attack. The enemy effigy is under attack. Enemy effigy is being dismantled by professionals. Our sacred effigy is being attacked. The enemy effigy is under attack. Success! The enemy team stood no chance to our superior effigy destroying
You won!
skill.
Bravo!